There is something happening inside your body right now, and you cannot feel it. No pain, no warning, no visible sign. But if you're over 40, 50, or 60 years old, there is a very high chance that this process has already begun. And the longer it goes unnoticed, the harder it becomes to reverse. My name is Dr. Samuel Prescott. I specialize in geriatric medicine and muscle longevity. Over the last 2 decades, I have worked with thousands of patients, men and women who came to me not because they were sick in traditional sense, but because something felt off. They felt weaker, more tired, less stable on their feet. Some could not get up from a chair the way they used to. Others noticed their legs felt heavier going upstairs. And most of them have been told the same thing by their doctors. It's just aging. It's normal. But I want to ask you something before we go any further. Think about the last few months. Has it taken a little more effort to get off the couch? Do your legs feel less responsive than they did 5 or 10 years ago? Do you get tired faster walking the same distances you used to walk with ease? If any of that sounds familiar, stay with me, because what I am about to share with you is something most people are never told, and it may be the most important information you receive about your body today. What you are experiencing is not just aging, it is a biological signal, and most people are completely ignoring it. The process is called sarcopenia, and it begins earlier than almost anyone expects. Research shows that after the age of 30, the human body begins losing muscle at a rate of roughly 1 to 2% per year. By the time most people reach their 60s, they may have lost 20 to 30% of the muscle mass they had in their prime. And here's the part that surprises even my patients. This loss is almost entirely silent in its early stages. You do not wake up one day and suddenly feel weak. It happens gradually. So gradually that the brain adapts and compensates, until one day you realize you cannot do things you once did without thinking. And at that point, the loss has already been accumulating for years. But here is what makes sarcopenia particularly insidious. It is not simply about losing size. It is about losing function, losing the physical independence you depend on every single day, the ability to walk confidently, to carry things, to balance, to recover from a stumble without falling. These are not abstract concerns. They are the defining factors of whether you remain independent as you grow older, or whether you begin to depend on others for the most basic tasks of daily life. And the question most people never think to ask is this: why does it happen? Why does muscle disappear so efficiently with age, even in people who try to stay active, eat reasonably well, and take care of themselves? The answer goes much deeper than most people realize. Inside your muscle cells, there is a constant biological negotiation happening. Your body receives signals from movement, from nutrition, from hormones, and based on those signals, it decides whether to build and maintain muscle tissue or to break it down. In younger bodies, this system is highly responsive. You eat protein, you move your body, and the muscle responds. It repairs. It grows. But as we age, something shifts. The signaling becomes less efficient. The body grows what scientists call anabolically resistant, meaning it takes significantly more stimulus to produce the same response it once generated automatically. You can eat the same amount of protein you always have and get far less benefit from it. You can do the same exercises and recover more slowly. The system is not broken, but it is running at a fraction of its former sensitivity. And layered on top of this is something called chronic low-grade inflammation. Unlike the acute inflammation you feel when you sprain an ankle, sharp, visible, temporary, this type of inflammation is subtle and persistent. It exists quietly in the background of the aging body, and it directly interferes with the muscle's ability to maintain and regenerate itself. It disrupts the signaling pathways. It slows repair. And it accelerates the very muscle loss that most people attribute simply to time passing. This is why two people the same age can have dramatically different bodies. Same decade, same general lifestyle. But one has maintained strength, stability, and physical capability, while the other has watched it slowly erode. The difference, in many cases, comes down to how well the body's internal environment is supporting muscle function at the cellular level. Now, if you are watching this and you recognize yourself in what I am describing, I want to say something clearly. This is not a reason to panic, but it is a reason to pay attention. Because here is what the research consistently shows. The body retains a remarkable capacity to respond when it is given the right support. The key word is support. And this brings me to something I need to share with you. In recent years, there has been growing interest in a specific nutritional approach that some people have been using to help support their muscle function as they age. It does not involve prescriptions. It does not involve anything extreme. And it is rooted in something that has been consumed by human populations for thousands of years, but has only recently been studied with the precision that modern science allows. I am talking about a seed that most people in Western countries have overlooked entirely, a seed that, upon close examination, appears to offer something quite specific to aging muscle tissue. And the name of that seed is the mung bean. Now, before you dismiss that, let me explain what the science actually shows, because this is not about trendy nutrition claims. This is about a very specific biological mechanism. The mung bean contains a protein profile that is unusual among plant-based sources. Its amino acid composition, particularly its concentration of branched-chain amino acids like leucine, is remarkably relevant to the aging body. Leucine is not just any amino acid. It functions as a direct activator of a cellular pathway called mTOR, which is one of the primary drivers of muscle protein synthesis. In other words, leucine does not just provide building material for muscle. It signals the body to begin the building process. What makes mung bean protein stand out is how this amino acid profile interacts with the aging system. In a body that has become anabolically resistant, the quality of protein matters far more than the quantity. You need protein sources that are highly bioavailable, meaning the body can actually absorb and use them efficiently. And you need protein sources that deliver the specific amino acids that act as signals, not just raw materials. Mung bean protein scores remarkably well on both of those criteria. It is highly digestible. It is absorbed efficiently. And its leucine content makes it a more effective trigger for the signaling pathways that drive muscle maintenance than many sources people consider superior, including, in some studies, whole eggs. But the protein profile is only part of what makes this seed relevant to muscle health after 40. Mung beans also contain a significant concentration of compounds with documented anti-inflammatory properties, including specific flavonoids and phenolic acids that have been studied for their ability to modulate the low-grade inflammatory environment that contributes to muscle breakdown in aging tissue. This dual action, supporting anabolic signaling while simultaneously reducing the inflammatory interference that blocks it, is what makes the mung bean particularly interesting from a clinical perspective. I want to be careful here. I am not telling you that eating mung beans is a cure for muscle loss. There is no single food that reverses the aging process. What I am saying is that the biological mechanisms at work in the aging muscular system have clear nutritional connections, and the mung bean addresses several of them in ways that most common protein sources do not. And here's where I want to speak directly to you again, because at this point in the video, you may already be connecting some of what I have described to your own experience. The difficulty getting up, the fatigue in your legs, the sense that your body is not responding the way it used to. That is not imagination. That is physiology. And if you are waiting for the right moment to start supporting your body, I want you to hear this clearly. The window of responsiveness is real. The body does not remain equally capable of responding at every age. The earlier you get the support it needs, the more it can do with that support. This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create clarity. There's a natural method that a growing number of people have been using, built around this very nutritional science, that is designed to support the muscle maintenance system in the aging body, not as a pharmaceutical intervention, not as a replacement for movement or food, but as a specific, targeted form of daily nutritional support that works with the biology I've been describing. If any part of what you have heard today resonates with what you are feeling in your own body, I want to encourage you to look at the link in the description and the first comment. There you will find more information about this approach and how people have been incorporating it into their daily lives. Take a few minutes. Read what is there. Your body has been sending you signals, and this may be exactly the information you need to respond to them. Let me continue with something that I think is equally important to understand: the timeline of this process. Most people assume that muscle loss becomes a serious issue only in very old age. They picture someone in their 80s struggling to walk, and they think, I have time. But the biological reality is different. The loss begins in your 30s. It accelerates through your 50s. And by your 60s and 70s, if nothing has been done to support the system, the cumulative deficit can be significant enough to fundamentally alter your quality of life. The studies are sobering. Adults who enter their 70s with substantially reduced muscle mass face dramatically higher risks of falls, of fractures, of loss of independent living. And the research is clear that the transition from functional to fragile is rarely sudden. It is a result of decades of silent, unaddressed loss. But what strikes me most, after years of working with patients in this space, is not the statistics. It is the stories. The person who used to walk 2 miles every morning and now cannot walk to the end of the block without stopping. The person who was completely independent at 65 and needed assistance by 70, not because of a dramatic health event, but because of gradual erosion, never taken seriously, finally crossed a threshold. I have seen patients who wished, deeply wished, that someone had told them sooner, had explained the mechanism, had given them the tools to act while their bodies could still respond effectively. That is what I am doing right now. I am telling you sooner. Because here is what I know from clinical experience. The body responds best when you act before the loss becomes pronounced. There's a phase, and many of you watching this are in it right now, where the biology is still highly responsive, where targeted nutritional support, combined with movement and awareness, can meaningfully slow the trajectory of muscle decline, where the investment you make in your body today pays dividends in independence, in stability, in vitality for years to come. But that window does not stay open indefinitely. The longer the inflammatory environment goes unsupported, the longer the anabolic signaling remains underfed, the longer the body is left without the specific inputs it needs to maintain what it has, the harder it becomes to recover ground. I am not trying to frighten you. I am trying to give you the same clarity I give my patients when they sit across from me and ask what they should do. And what I tell them is this: do not wait for a crisis to take your muscle health seriously. Act while acting is easy. Act while the body still responds with generosity to the support you give it. The natural approach I mentioned, the one rooted in the nutritional science of the mung bean and its specific role in the aging muscular system, has been a meaningful part of how many people have chosen to support their bodies during this critical period. It is not magic. It is biology meeting intention. If you have watched this far, you already understand more about what is happening inside your body than the majority of people your age. That knowledge is valuable. But knowledge without action is just information. The link is in the description and in the first comment. It takes less than 2 minutes to read what is there. And it could be the starting point of the most important investment you make in your physical future. Your body is still responding. Give it what it needs while it can still use it.